Ladies and gentlemen, we're back again. I got my therapist here. It's huge for me to have my therapist here. You know, I feel exposed. Like she can see my bones. She see my veins. But I want to share with you my world. And I think if I'm honest with you guys, you're going to be honest with me. You're going to be honest with my therapist to understand the personal growth that I've gone through. So when you left your college, how was did you get an internship first? How was it? How did you get in the spot? How did you get in the space where you are in right now?
Yeah, so I did my internship in I think it was my last semester of college. And so people, by that point, everybody has done their internships, and then I'm now doing my internship, right? And so I did it in January. I graduated in May. So when I did my internship, that's when I decided to apply, and then I got an interview, and then I got accepted into the master's program. So it was after I graduated. I graduated in May. I think it was like May 21st of like 2011, and then I moved to Pennsylvania after that, and so I didn't start graduate school.
Pennsylvania is cold too. You like cold. You like cold, though.
That was the only school I applied to.
Well, I went to a little small school in Kansas, so I understand. I understand. But it's cold. Pennsylvania is cold in winter.
It was a huge culture shift for me. Because I remember the very first day I walked into my apartment.
This is Pennsylvania.
In Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It's hot. Because it was the summer.
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm
both extremes.
Right. And so I'm used to air conditioning because of North Carolina. Like it came standard. And so I'm like, wait, where's the thermostat? I'm looking around. I'm trying to find the thermostat. And so I called the landlady. I'm like, hey, can you show me where the thermostat is? She was like, oh, no. I said, well, where's the AC? She was like, oh, honey. And she just burst out laughing. She was like, no, that we don't have AC here. I was like, you don't have central AC?
You can buy a fan.
I went to Walmart immediately to go get an AC unit. My husband put it in the window, and I was like, okay, I'm good. Because, I was not about to stay in that heat.
Pennsylvania is like Seattle. When I moved here first, and I didn't get it, people told me, like, when they constructed a lot of, because I like downtown. Yeah. So the units were built on the premise that everything is going to be cold majority of the year. But all this climate change things and surges, bro, it gets really hot. And we have to buy this like units from like Amazon or like Home Depot. So I think that's what you're going through as well. That was exactly what happened. But even when I moved here, a lot of houses here. So I moved here in 2013. A lot of houses here didn't have. They don't AC. So even till today, they don't. You have to put your own. So in our home, we had to like install. It was already wired for it, so that was good. So we had to install AC because I think it was maybe summer of 2015 or so. I was like, listen, it's getting hot. Every summer it's getting hot. I'm not used to this. Like, this is not the Washington that I know. And so we invested in central AC in our home, and I think that's been the best investment ever. Because I like it. It keeps the things cool. Me and my wife, we fight, so it's marital things. For example, she likes the room cold. I like a little warmer. So we fight over the thermostat. He pisses me off, but here we are. Ladies and gentlemen, here we are. You gotta find the middle. You gotta find the middle. You buy that, what's it called, that warm blanket? That heated blanket. I put it on that side so I can get AC on this side. But ladies and gentlemen, make it work with what you have. That's true. So, that is true. I'm going to ask you hard questions before, because this is not Dr. Phil. So, I'm saying you're in creative hustle. Everything is hustling here. Listen, let's get it. What's your definition of trauma? So trauma, in very simple terms, is anything difficult that someone experiences that has like an impact on them, right? So if you, for example, you're walking around the corner and then somebody comes and like they scare you and say, oh my God, that was so scary, right? But you're able to like move on from it because it was like, oh man, this is how, Dubai is, right? Right. You move on from it, but that's not trauma. Trauma is like those things that happen to you that you can't seem to shake off, right? So it's not just somebody came around the corner and scared you. They came around the corner and they actually harmed you in some kind of way. So your brain cannot just like... It's a brain wound. Exactly. Like you can't just throw it away like, oh, it was just something, right, normal that happened. I mean, trauma is in many ways not necessarily normal, even though we experience it as people. Like every day, every moment of every day. Right? And why is it hard I love the fact that you have a focal point, not a focal point of everything because you serve everybody in Washington State, but you have this a little component of immigrant in you. Why is it important for immigrant communities to identify and know what trauma is, to be able to process it, how to work around it, to move forward. Because I'm uncle. Since I'm uncle now, I'm not young nigga now. I'm the uncle now. I'm the elder. So I gotta fix the things that my dad not fix.
You're an elder.
So that's why I just brought you like how can we as an immigrant community identify, pick it out, process it, and know how to move forward?
Yeah. Well, the thing is that we don't talk about it enough, right? When you talk about a certain concept, you talk about things like trauma, then you're able to identify it, right? You can't identify something that you don't know.
True.
You see what I'm saying?
Accurate,
so the thing is that in many ways, trauma has become a normal part of our lives, so much so that we have become disengaged. We're like numb towards it.
Desensitized.
It's not desensitized. It's not a big thing anymore. And I think for us, especially like I'll talk from like the Ghanaian perspective, I think that there is this way in which for those of us who are religious, we tie everything to religion and God and God let this happen and the devil this and devil that. And so we have covered it
in religion.
With religion, and we're not getting deep down into what the issues are. And it's important for us to talk about it because we're not necessarily healing. We're not necessarily thriving. We're just kind of going through life.
Floating.
We're floating, right? We have this sense of security because like, oh, well, we've come to America, we're fine and all that stuff. But what we realize, or what I've come to realize, is that a lot of those wounds are still open for a lot of people, but we don't realize it. And it shows up in everything that we do. It shows up in our careers. It shows up in how we parent. It shows up like all of these different things. And like, I'll give you an example of how, a lot of children were disciplined, right? We call it discipline. But looking back, it was like, this was physical and emotional abuse.
There was a lot of things over there that I've literally, I've met people who right now, their personality, that whole entire, the way they step in the room is based on how they were punished. Yeah. And so it shows up for those of us who become parents, it shows up in the way that you're parenting your kids. And people are like, well, I turned out fine, so I can whoop my kids. But it's like, are you really fine? Because you don't know how to regulate your emotions. You don't know how to calm yourself down. It's like everything's like, hey. And it's like, you don't know how to just have a gentle conversation with your child and say, I need you to put that down. Everything's like, I need you to put that down. I'll beat you and all that. And then we instill so much fear in our children. And because we were raised with fear.
Exactly. Because we think that is discipline. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. We've misconstrued the concept of discipline and fear. And it's unfortunate. I mean, I can give you so many different examples, but it's really unfortunate that we have been raised that way. But we also didn't become that way just because of anything, right? This is a systemic generational thing, right? Correct. We can trace it all the way back to colonial
times,
right?
Because if you're not timid, we're gonna take your head off,
right? The transatlantic slave trade, all of these different things that we've been exposed to, these are all traumas that have been passed down to us, and we realize that there's a lot of research around this, actually, not just realization, but that trauma lives in our bodies. And we transfer that to our children. We transfer that to our grandchildren. And then it just keeps going on and on and on and on. And so sometimes you don't even realize it, but you have this reaction. You're like, "Ooh, what's that about?" It's because some of these things have traveled generation after generation. And you realize that people are parenting the way that they were parented and the way their parents were parented. So
it's a template that keeps replicating.
Right. And a lot of times, so it's also tied to wanting to please our parents, especially if our parents are alive, to watch us parents our kids. We want to make them proud. And so we want to do things the way that they were doing and not realize that this is America, right? We cannot afford to do things the same way. The generation of kids like the Gen Alphas, they are a whole different breed. The COVID babies.
It's different.
The COVID babies. Listen, we're going to have to adjust the way that we parent. But we cannot adjust that if we don't understand ourselves and understand why we are the way
and
that
evolve to. So I like the fact that you mentioned something heavy that I always want to bring as well. What's your definition of people pleasing? Do you think, to me, I feel like people pleasing is a trauma response of how you grew up, how you were nurtured, how you didn't want to upset people, how people upset you already, so you don't want to do, or a bully parent that always wanted you to show excellence. So you always like, make sure you, or a kid who did not get validation enough as young. So he has to seek it from other people. What's your validation of people pleasing?
Well, you just kind of said it, because people pleasing really comes down to making sure that you're presenting in a way that people are going to find acceptable. People are going to like you. People are going to love you. And so sometimes people who go through people pleasing or are people pleasers, they end up being like a chameleon. Like, you know,
you have to
and they have to shift, right? You have to morph into all of these different people, because when you come here and you want to please Phoebe, you have to, like, you know, do the Phoebe thing. And then you come here and then Denis, and then you have to do the Denis
thing.
Right? And so because of that, as a result of that, people don't know themselves, or they haven't been able to, like, hold themselves and be proud of who they are, because you've been playing different roles. It's like acting.
Right? You've
been playing different roles. Correct, so you don't know who you are.
Cosplay. You don't know who you are in the world.
Yeah, you don't know.
When you speak about therapy, and by the way, shout out to being a Black woman killing it. Get to that. Yeah. Black woman killing in this space. Our community, I'm not limiting to Black or African, just our community. There are a lot of women who never go to therapy.
No.
And the way they process stuff is different from men. Okay. Us, we can be sexually deviant, all that, whatever, alcoholism, whatever. So what do you think are the healthy ways that women of color can process their trauma before getting into relationships? Because I feel like that's like the little base thing that attracts what they like. These messed up baby daddies is what you summon.
Right.
What can you say? Well, how can we, as Black girls, sisters, I'm talking about my sisters right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very layered piece.
Yeah,
here.
Let's talk about
and I think about how as Black women, we've been raised with this strong Black woman stereotype, right? So one of the ways in which we can start processing our trauma is to be able to identify it, and then identify how it's impacting us, and then start shedding some of those layers of protection that we've had to build over time, right? You think about like hyper independence. You think about, like, you know, emotional dysregulation. You think about depression, anxiety, all of those things. I mean, therapy is great. Don't get me wrong. It's great. Like I said, and not everyone can afford therapy, right? Especially in this day and age where a lot of clinicians, therapists, counselors are getting off insurance panels, right? And so people cannot afford to pay the out-of-pocket costs. So I think that community is something that's very, very important for us as Black women, right? Being able to surround yourself with people who are safe, people that can hold you and hold you accountable, right? It's that accountability piece is not just like well, you did this and did that, blah, blah, but like hold you while holding you accountable. You see what I'm saying? Making
sure you understand, I'm protecting you, but you gotta
do your work.
Yeah, you gotta do your work.
You have some work to do.
Correct.
So I think that there's a lot of that we really need, especially in this country where everybody's super like independent. We're very individualistic over in this country. We lose sight of that, and we fall straight into the system here because we're trying to assimilate, and we forget where we've come from. We forget who we are. We forget that, like where we're from. When you have a baby, the elders come and they take care of the baby and they take care of you. But then also, like, people don't necessarily have the time or the luxury to be able to do that.
This country is
it's like we're going, and so like, and so even when people offer that to us, it's like, oh no, it's fine, I'm okay. But it's like, not, are you really fine?
Are you really fine?
Let somebody come and hold the baby so you can take a nap, right? And so I think that it's a journey. It's a journey of self-exploration. It's a journey of self-love. It's a journey that I've gone on in trying to figure out like my traumas, the things that happened in my childhood, how it's impacting me, even like till today, right? And being able to recognize, okay, Phoebe, you're not 11 years old anymore. You don't have to protect yourself like this. You can shed these layers. You can be safe. You can find your community, and you can find people who can hold you. That part is so important because I use the sandwich approach, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before you challenge somebody, making sure that you start off with something gentle, like a compliment, like stating your intention, and then you come in with a challenge, and then you end with something really nice and something really gentle with them.
Mm-hmm.
In our culture, we don't necessarily know how to do it. We take pride in,
we're learning,
I'm straightforward, I'm just to the point and all that stuff, and we're also realizing that we can't continue to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right, we're not always gentle with one another. That really breaks my heart.
Because we're all broken people. So broken people break other people.
Exactly.
Because so in your field as a therapist, how do you guys get resources to like fund, keep you guys up, keep you guys in business, especially when our community predominantly does not like fund or whatever? How do you guys keep yourself in business?
That is a great question. So some of us we accept insurance, so we get paid, we get reimbursed by the insurance companies when their clients come and see us. Another way is community grants also. And so making sure that like at least for my practice, I'm not going to speak for every single person, but for my practice, we are very big about community, and so we connect with a lot of community partners. So for example, here in Washington, we have the Washington Therapy Fund. Right?
So that's how I got in.
Right. So we partner with them to be able to provide free sessions to Black folks in Washington State. We also have another partner in the community called DMHS, Demystifying Mental Health. I think it's deconstructing mental health system. And so they also do a lot of grants. And so when they get the grants, they disperse it to people like myself and my practice. And so we're able to provide free sessions to people in the community who might not be able to afford it.
Yeah.
Another thing also is like I personally apply for grants. Like if I see any grant somewhere,
quick facts.
Like, give me that money. I want that money. Give me some of that, right? And so I personally go looking for grants. So that we can use that money towards the business. So for example, I think it was 2020.
So the pandemic part, the pandemic time.
I think it was
the very end.
Yeah, I think it was like 2020, 2022. I got a grant from Comcast, right? And
nice.
so it was thousands of dollars, and it was really nice to be able to like,
move.
Get things going. I was able to expand my office, furnish all of the offices, hire more people because we need more clinicians. We need more
people in the space. Yes,
exactly. Correct. And so that's another way that we do that. And there's also like government grants that people can apply for. And a lot of times, like even when I get like a personal grant, I put it back into the business. Like
you have to.
So last year, I think I got a grant for being like the Black Business Advocate of the Year. I received that here in Seattle, and that money went straight into putting together a space for my interns.
For the interns. Oh, big up, y'all. You hear that? You hear that? So if you're in the mental health space. Psychology space.
Right.
Interns. She's taking interns.
I do take interns. Yes. I take interns. Right now we have 4. We have 4 interns.
I like that.
A few of them are about to graduate, and we're going to keep them on.
Bigger. Ladies and gentlemen, when I met Phoebe, I applied through the grant program again they had. Man, I was broke as hell. It was after the pandemic. I was stressed out. I had no income for almost 2 years. It was tough, man. Yeah. But I appreciate you. I was in Tacoma, right? What's that street? What's that street that got lost?
Tacoma Avenue.
Tacoma Avenue.
Yeah.
But it
was just a one. Yeah, it was a one-room office.
I know, but I'm saying I can't. I got lost so many times, but I'm sorry about that. So where's your new location right now for anybody seeking therapy?
Yeah, so we are in University Place.
Yeah, so you don't?
No, so that's where people get confused sometimes. So University Place is actually by Tacoma. So it's like a little, I don't know, city. Yeah. Yeah, I guess city. So
it's right on the edge. 133, 134.
It's the Gig Harbor exit.
Oh, the Gig Harbor exit.
SR16.
SR16. Okay, cool.
So we're right on the very edge of Tacoma. So we're in University Place, and we actually just opened a new office in Puyallup too. So we're trying to
branch out a little bit in Pierce County.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it.
So hopefully, maybe eventually we'll get into Thurston County, King County, all that stuff. King County is very saturated with therapists.
Therapists, right?
So,
we have too many over here. Yeah, I noticed that. But the saturation of therapists does not mean that we have more clients coming in. Sure. I am today in this space representing immigrant fathers, Black men, Black brothers, Black stepbrothers, whatever they want to do. But what's important? What's the importance of having Black men, African men, immigrant men come into this therapy space to process whatever concoction of toxicity that we came from before we pass it to our wives and our children?
Listen, I feel like working with Black men has been like one of my biggest honors, because I know that you all go outside and you put on this front, right? Society has told you have to be strong, you have to be this and that, and the provider and all that. And my role as a therapist is to be someone that you don't have to do that with.
Safe space.
A safe space, right? A place where you're not going to be judged. A place where you can come and you can cry. A place where you can come and be vulnerable. You can talk about your fears. You can talk about the things that like people have done to you and hurt you and like all of the things. And you don't have to worry about me going out to talk to somebody about it, right? Because we have a certain ethical code that we have to adhere to as clinicians. And so like if anybody goes out and they break your confidentiality, like that's their license, right? And we work too hard to get our license. And so even for me, whenever I have immigrant clients coming in, that's one of the first things that I say to them, like, listen, my license is way more important than any gossip. You see what I'm saying? So I'm not going to jeopardize it. So you will see me at a party and I will act like I don't know you, right? If you want to tell somebody like, hey, this is my therapist, cool, that's on you. Like I'll smile,
but I'm not gonna.
But I'm not gonna come here, brother, and tell your business. And so I think that's where like that honor comes with like just being able to sit in a space with men who outside of this space might not be able to be this vulnerable, might not be able to be this open. And like, it's just, there's something about, for a number of years, I didn't work with men, right? I didn't work with men because I was like, I like my sisters. I think this is my niche. And then I had an African-American male reach out to me and I started working with him and I was like, oh, I actually like this. So I started opening it up a little bit more and I started taking on more Black men. And it was such a different, refreshing experience knowing that these men are going out healed. They're going out and being different. They're going out being accountable. They're going out and being soft and gentle in all the right places. And they're able to communicate, right? They're able to use their words. They've learned the language, right? And so one of my former clients, I remember like years and years ago, he was like, my wife says that you're worth the money because now I'm using my words. I was like, I told you I'll be worth the money, you know? And so it's so important because society is not making it easy for Black men to exist.
Yeah, it's immigrant also, immigrant Black men. Is it Black men
right.
also, Black men? Or that's just, it's a space where we are not allowed to brand our pain and our trauma in a way that we need help. Right. It's almost like you're supposed to. Yeah. You're supposed to suffer. You're supposed to. There's no soft life for you.
No.
You know, Mr. Mrs. Mrs. is Mr. with soft at the end. Us is no soft. You have to suffer. You have to die. If you die, you die.
See, I push back against that a little bit, like, because like even with that, some of us who are still the misses, we're still hustling out here. Just like, yo, you see what I'm saying? Like, ain't no soft life over here.
Yeah, it's soft everywhere. Now, what's the most exciting part of your job? Like literally when you walk in, I don't mean like today or next week, but what's something like lights up your, like when I do comedy, I feel good when I make a joke and I relate to somebody who like, yo, so I'm not doing bullshit. So you're picking up. So what's about your job do you like when you come in and you feel like, I feel like I'm at the highest tier of what I'm trying to do?
Oh, I can think of so many.
Yeah.
I'll give you two examples.
Okay, let's go.
And because, again, as a therapist, I still wear different hats within my practice. Correct. So outside of seeing clients, which I don't anymore, I'm able to also supervise the next generation of therapists, which is the interns and the associates who work in my practice. So when it comes to like working with clients, I think just being able, one of my favorite moments is when clients are able to put the dots together.
they can figure it out.
They connect it, right? Because they might say something, and I think people have this misconception about therapy.
Talk to me.
That they come and then I give them the answers or tell them what to do. No, that's
you don't have any answers.
That's not what I'm there for, right? I'm there to walk with you as you figure out those answers. So part of my
journey.
role,
it's not a destination. It's a journey. Okay,
right.
Cool,
so part of my role is to be able to draw your attention to certain things, ask you certain things to get your brain moving. Like, oh wait, so I'm responding this way because this is how I saw my parents responding in their marriage, right? Right. But I'm not like directly coming and telling you, you know what, you're this way because this. No. So it's a very like when the light bulb
hits you, like
it goes off for the client. It's like, oh my God, we're doing it, right? Like I've done my job.
Yes.
Here. And so I think that's one of the things I enjoy the most. And also like being able to make my clients laugh. I use a lot of comedy and
laughter.
humor in my sessions. And so being able to see somebody walk in with like this like forlorn look or whatever, and they come and sit on the couch. Yes, we do have couches. And they sit there and then, whatever is going on, they talk about it. And to be able to get them to a place where they leave smiling, it's such a refreshing thing.
You feel like what you've done.
Right. So there's that. And then on the other hand, whenever I'm working with interns or with my associates, if they're struggling with a particular client and we're able to like figure it out together, and I'm able to like let them know like you're already doing it. Right. And then they have this like relief of like, oh my goodness, that is such a beautiful moment, because then it's like where I'm encouraging them in some way, shape or form. Right. One of the hats that I also, wear is that I'm an adjunct faculty. So I teach in a master's program that's based out of Seattle here. And even with my students, whenever we're able to figure those things out together and I ask them a question and they're like, that light bulb goes off
right there.
Right. It's like, yeah, you're doing it. Like you're already doing it. You think I'm going to come tell you, oh no, you did that, blah, blah, blah. No, you're already doing it. You've got it.
You're in the motion.
It's there. You've got it.
I like it because you're keeping the momentum going. I love that.
I'm trying my best. I really am.
So, as a mother of 3 kids, shout out to the 3 kids. I don't know their names yet, but she'll tell me soon. But how do you balance like motherhood and man? I don't know. As a therapist, I feel I have some friends who tell me stuff. Sometimes I call out, bro. I don't have it in me to like listen to them all day. You're listening to people all week, all month.
Yeah.
How do you carry that and come home and still have that work-life balance? How's that work for you?
You know what's crazy? You're talking about coming home, and my home has also been my office. Because of the pandemic.
Because
when we moved online, I work from home, and I'm still working from home, right? There's days that I go to the office, but I don't go there as often.
Right.
But I have this visual of like dropping a bag, like whatever it is, the work stuff. I drop the bag at the door, and then when I walk in,
like carry on, you leave it there.
Yes. When I walk in, I'm mom. Right. And because they're so young, there's no deciphering. I don't have that opportunity to like even decompress, because as soon as I walk in the house, it's like, mommy, times 3, right? And they have their needs and all that stuff. And sometimes it gets overwhelming. But I would say that the way that I'm able to like balance it all is really just having a great support system. And my calendar.
In your calendar.
Everything goes on the calendar.
Is it a Google Calendar?
I have iCloud and
iCloud.
I have one iCloud, and then I have like 4 Google Calendars. It's all color coded. Everything is color coded. Listen, for the longest time, my client care coordinator at the office was like, "I don't want to see your calendar. When I see your calendar, I feel very anxious.
Very anxious
because it's there's just so much on there." And I'm like, well, that's it. I have to do that. So I think having a support system is definitely what has helped me get this far. Like knowing that I have my mom. My mom is a huge, big support for me. And I tell people like I wouldn't be doing a lot of things that I'm doing if it wasn't for my mom, because like she's there to take care of the kids, and so I'm able to rest knowing that my kids are taken care of. They love grandma, and she does all of those things. And I even that in itself is a privilege to be able to retire my mom, bring her here, and have her live here, and just take care of the kids.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. We get to like have that multi-generational living. They get to learn from me, from my husband, from my mom, my dad. You know, it's a very beautiful.
It's a beautiful dynamic. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, happy Mother's Day to Phoebe's mom. You know, for being amazing.
Yeah.
Right. Where's Phoebe's mom? Mother's Day was like
that was last week.
Weeks ago.
No, it was last week.
It was last week. Happy Mother's Day, Phoebe.
Oh, thank you
sorry.
very much.
Did I send you flowers?
No, you didn't.
Because you don't send me your address. What's your address? Sometimes it's communication. Where's the address? I cannot send flowers to ghost writers, ghost everybody. Send me the address, I'll send the flowers.
You know what's funny? My house looked like a garden for the last 3 weeks because I had surgery, right?
Man.
I had surgery at the end of April, and so all those people are sending all these flowers, and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed because there was so many. It was so much. I had some on the dining table, I had some on my counter. Like it was a lot. So, you know, send me something else.
I got you.
Okay.
Sis, I got you. Now, on your job, you've talked about the exciting things. You've talked about connecting with our immigrant community. We've talked about family. What are some of the lows? Like, how do you take care of yourself? Like, you take care of me. Because when I came to you, I was broken as hell. I was there cursing. You remember me? I was pissed off, crying and laughing at the same time. You were like, what drugs is this guy on? But how do you take care of yourself?
I go to therapy too.
Okay.
I have my own therapist. I'm gonna see her this coming week. I haven't seen her in a couple of weeks. And I try to do things that are not therapy related. I give back to community in different ways. I read a lot. I try to get through like one book a month.
I like that. I like books too.
Yeah, I love that. And,
I do audio though. I do copy.
I do both. Yeah, but I do prefer audiobooks. I would say I'm an auditory learner.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I do that, and I try to sleep as much as I'm able to. I will also say that my spirituality is a huge piece of my self-care. Like being able to connect with God daily, like different times of the day, because there's times where like I feel like I can't do it anymore. Right, I can't keep holding on to all of these people's stories and everything, and then especially when I'm going through my own stuff. You see what I'm saying? And I always pray for strength, and I pray that God gives me the courage to make difficult decisions. Because as a business owner, like you have to make decisions here and there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's hard, and so I find that being able to connect with God daily is something that has really helped me stay grounded. Right? My relationship with God, I feel like, is what keeps me going.
I like that. A friend of mine, one of my best friends actually, he lives in Minnesota. He did this thing. He's been married like 3 years now. He did this thing before they like got on the nuptials and everything. He went to therapy with a girl. That's the first time anybody in my circle said they took their wife. No, it's not wife yet.
Fiance.
They took him to therapy to like figure themselves out before. They are one of the most like respectable couples that we look up to in my family. And what's the importance? I don't mean you have to go before or whatever, but what's the importance of couples, especially immigrant couples, because we don't go shit. We don't do nothing. What's the importance of us going to therapy? Even if it's 1 or 2 or before the onset of the relationship, so we can know what the hell we signed up for.
Right. I feel like that is so important because a lot of people enter relationships and enter marriages with some really jacked up expectations.
Hollywood?
Yes. Hollywood, social media.
Family,
right? Like they don't understand what marriage is.
What is marriage definition? Like from a therapist standpoint, what do you call marriage?
That is such that there's
I know it's loaded, but
right, it's nuanced because like you can call marriage a partnership between one person and another, but in our culture,
it's union.
It's a union of your families too.
It's a community that comes together to build wealth, sustainability, reputation, all that.
So there's a lot
American
of cultural,
is different.
Yeah, there's a lot of cultural context to the definition of marriage.
Correct.
Right, because when you think about for us as Ghanaians, whenever you're going to marry somebody and the man is coming, he comes with his family. He doesn't come alone.
Yeah, he doesn't come alone.
Right?
Mom, auntie, everybody.
Right?
They're coming in, yeah.
And they come bearing gifts.
Correct.
And the dowry.
Yes.
And everything.
All that.
But here, it's like mom and dad are home, and then the daughter shows up. He asked me to marry him. And then it's like, okay, cool, right?
You didn't tell us.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, traditionally here, the man is supposed to talk to the father of the bride, of the woman before, all that stuff. But so I say all that to say, not that one is better than another. I think it's just, it depends on the culture. But the bottom line is that marriage is a union.
True.
Right? It's a union. And I think that people come in with this expectation, especially with our, millennials, Gen X, and all of like equality and all that. Yeah. And I don't know that is realistic.
I don't think it's realistic to this point. I've been arguing about that a long time.
I don't think it's realistic because nobody's going to be even able to show up 100% for the marriage, right? I think it was in maybe Michelle Obama's book where she talked about the fact that like marriage is not 50-50. Or maybe it was a speech. I don't know.
It's 100-100. I remember that it's a speech.
Yeah.
I didn't really she did a Howard or something.
Yeah.
And she said it's not 50, it's 100.
Right. But even beyond that, there's going to be times where you might have 30 and you might be counting on your spouse to bring the 70. Right. So in that case, it's not 50-50, it's not equal, like all of those things. Because, and especially for us as couples, like immigrant couples, we have these gender expectations too, right? Where, in like for heterosexual couples, right, the man is supposed to be the provider, the woman, she might work and all that, but she's not like the main provider. But think about how the roles are going to reverse when, for example, the woman is the one who immigrates first. She's settled down, right? And she has established something. She's the one that has her papers. Mm-hmm. And then the man comes and joins, and they're like, during the 90-day period, for example, with the K1 visa, he can't work.
So you have 90 days of a non-working spouse.
Yes.
That you have to love, support, and that's when your love is tested.
You see what I'm saying?
That K1 visa.
And that can be a very trying moment for people.
Or immigrants who are married, right? Mm-hmm. And they're processing their papers.
Right.
And the government maybe limits them to how much they can work. Remember we spoke about that, the work permit and stuff.
Yes.
This is when you decide like, okay, so am I going to take a gamble?
Yeah.
American life is tough.
It's rough. And so like, the gender roles, they shift because now she's the one that's paying the bills. Right? She's the one who is going to give you money to
do whatever you need to
do whatever. And for a lot of men,
you're traditional. I want to eat my wife's food.
You see what I'm saying?
Like I was raised with my wife cooking, but she can't work 16 hours
and then come
and make you food.
Right.
So there's always going to be, I don't know how society is created. This is why failed relationships happen because I still want you to be my wife.
Right.
Because a man works with respect and ego. That's what nourishes us. Right. Your food, your beauty. Right. So when you take over our role, and you can't give me what I need, I don't feel like I'm the man of the house. Right.
And it's not even done intentionally.
It's just systemic.
It's the system, right? So what would you rather do? Like I stop working and then come home and then come and cook your meals, or I work like half the shift and then come home. Like we have to pay the mortgage, or we have to pay rent, we have utilities. And if there's children too, like them little people are expensive. Like diapers, wipes, formula.
Yeah, talk about it.
You see what I'm saying? And so I think that is where that flexibility needs to come in, and that conversation about expectations needs to come in. And sometimes couples don't know how to have those difficult conversations. And so when they come to therapy, when they come to couples therapy, that's where they learn how to have the difficult conversations. That's where they learn the skills, like using your I statements and reflecting, whatever it is that you're hearing, because those are some of the things that we practice in session, right? So like if I'm working with a couple, one person says something and then, the other person is silent. I will ask the silent one, what did you hear your partner say? Right? Because we want to a lot of times, what we say or people hear are two different things, right? And so whenever you come to couples counseling or couples therapy, this is a time for you to learn these skills. It's a time for you to like get to the root of the issue. That's where you might learn things about your partner, for example. You will learn why they are the way that they are, right? Because like, and I remember hearing a sermon at a wedding years and years. This was like, I was a kid, right? But I still remember it because the pastor was telling the couple, the married couple, that, you know, you might not understand why your husband always leaves his clothes over the door, like just hangs them over the door, right? And then you put your clothes, you know, you hang them or whatever. Because for all you know, your husband's home did not have closets, but you had closets. And so you are irritated by your husband, like wonder, like, why are you always putting your clothes over the door and not being able to get to the root of the whatever the issue is, which is he's not used to hanging his clothes on a hanger and putting them in the closet.
And it's your job in his life right there to tell him, like, we don't live with the scarcity mindset anymore. We have room.
Well, you know, when it comes to job, like, he also has to do his work too.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
He has to do just a balance.
Right. There's a balance there. So when you come to couples therapy or couples counseling, that's where those things will come out. Right. Like, tell me about your experience of hanging things on the door. How did you, you know, take care of your clothes when you were younger in your home? And there's like, oh, okay, so you didn't have closets, you had closets. All right, okay. So then how do we find the happy median here to where we're not getting irritated with each other, right? Like where we are able to coexist. Because your partner is coming into the marriage with all of their baggage, right? Right? Because they're an extension of their family. So they're bringing all of that stuff.
All this family trauma.
And then you're bringing all of your stuff. And then now you have to figure out, it's like a Venn diagram. How are we going to connect them?
Connect all of them.
Right? What do we want our lives to look like? What is it about your family that you want to shed? What is it about my family that I want to shed? And what are we bringing together?